where we're going to unpack the absolutely incredible, high-security engineering hiding right there in plain sight inside your wallet. You probably have a few bills on you right now, right? You've spent thousands of them in your lifetime, but it's highly likely you've never actually stopped to think about what it takes to make one, or, why it's practically impossible to fake. So today we're breaking down one of the most precise, mind-blowing manufacturing operations in America. It's a system literally designed to protect the foundation of the global economy, and the level of detail is just staggering.
If you have one handy, pull out a dollar bill and actually feel it between your fingers. Notice that? That unique kind of rough texture? It almost feels like fabric, doesn't it? Well, there's a reason you aren't feeling standard printer paper right now. It comes from a very specific, highly restricted material that forms the absolute foundation of our currency's security.
Section 1. The canvas of currency. Okay, let's dive right into this first phase, where the physical material itself acts as the ultimate security gate before a single drop of ink ever touches it. So, the secret to that texture? U.S. currency is actually a textile blend. It's 75% cotton and 25% linen. And get this, it is manufactured exclusively by exactly one company, Crane Currency, up in Massachusetts. What this means is that absolutely nobody else is legally allowed to possess this exact substrate. This unique blend is what gives cash its crispness, allowing it to survive thousands of folds in your pocket. But more importantly, if you're caught just holding unauthorized blank sheets of this material, that is a federal offense. The paper itself would literally get you arrested. Crane has held this sole contract to supply the U.S. currency substrate for over 140 years. And they don't just hand over blank textiles either. They physically embed security features directly into the fabric right during the paper-making process. Even before printing begins, they scatter these tiny red and blue synthetic fibers throughout the material. It's honestly wild to think that this specific security feature traces its origins all the way back to the 1800s. It was designed to ensure a counterfeiter couldn't just replicate the canvas with some basic home setup. During that same paper-making process, they also weave in this super thin plastic security thread. If you hold a $5 bill or higher up to the light, you'll see it. But what's truly fascinating here is that this thread glows under ultraviolet light in specific denomination-tied colors. So a 5 glows blue, a 10 is orange, a 20 green, 50 is yellow, and 100 glows pink. Plus, each thread is in a totally different physical position on the bill. So the really crucial point here is that a counterfeiter can't just bleach a $5 bill and reprint it as 100. No way. The thread would glow the completely wrong color, and it'd be in the wrong spot. Section 2. Printing impossible details. Let's move on to the next phase and see how this all builds up. Moving off the paper mill floor and into the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the whole process shifts into an extreme, microscopic art form. Once that secure substrate arrives, the printing process becomes this brutal 3-step gauntlet. Step 1 is offset printing, which basically lays down those subtle background washes of color. But what sits on top of that color are intricate geometric patterns cut by mathematical lathes. These patterns are so ridiculously complex that no human could ever replicate them freehand. And brilliantly, they're designed to literally self-destruct into visual distortion if someone even tries to scan or photocopy them. Step 2 utilizes intaglio printing, and the sheer physical force involved here is just mind-blowing. To make the master plates, an engraver hand carves the portraits into soft steel backwards at a microscopic scale. Then, the intaglio press absolutely slams the paper into those engraved chrome-plated grooves using thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch. The paper is literally forced deep into the recessed lines to pick up the ink. This is exactly why you can physically feel the raised texture of Benjamin Franklin's portrait, or the lettering on a genuine bill. Now, this intaglio ink isn't your standard ink either. It contains specific magnetic particles and infrared properties that allow vending machines and bill validators to authenticate the notes instantly. But what's truly wild? This specialized, highly secure ink takes a full 72 hours, 3 entire days, just to sit and dry in a controlled environment before it can safely move to the final step without smearing. The entire multi-billion-dollar production timeline is built around that one waiting period. On the $100 bill specifically, this extreme detailing reaches its absolute peak. Hidden right there in the design is microprinting. We're talking text so incredibly small you need a magnifying glass just to verify it, like the United States of America written directly across Benjamin Franklin's collar. Plus, they weave in a 3D blue ribbon containing over 1 million microlenses per inch. When you tilt the bill, tiny bells shift into the number 100.
It is the pinnacle of global security, widely considered the most advanced anti-counterfeiting feature on any banknote on Earth.
Section 3. Inspection and circulation. We've built the canvas, and we've printed the impossible details. Now, let's look at Step 3 of the printing gauntlet, the letterpress, and the intense inspection phase right after.
The letterpress, or the cope process, is what stamps on the Treasury seals and those totally unique 11-character serial numbers. Those numbers identify the year, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the exact production run. But before these bills ever leave the facility, every single sheet faces a ruthless offline inspection. High-speed cameras scan both sides of the sheets at full production speed, checking alignment and ink coverage. Any flawed notes are instantly pulled and replaced with what they call star notes, identifiable by a little star right in the serial number. If you ever find one of these in your wallet, definitely hold on to it, because collectors absolutely love them. Once they're cut to exactly 6.14 by 2.61 inches, and by the way, those dimensions haven't changed since 1929, these perfectly precise notes are banded, bricked, and shipped out via armored trucks to one of 28 Federal Reserve Bank cash offices. There, they circulate out in the world until they're completely worn out. A standard $1 bill usually survives about 6.6 years, while the $100 bill often lasts almost 23 years in circulation, largely just because it's stored more often than it's actually spent.
Section 4. The heavy metal press. Now, let's completely shift gears from the delicate, microscopic world of paper to the 1500-degree, heavy impact world of coin minting. Coins actually start out as these massive metal coils, like 4 football fields long, that are rapidly punched into circular blanks. And their specific metallurgical recipes are very, very deliberate. For instance, a penny is 97.5% zinc with just a really thin copper shell. A quarter, on the other hand, relies on a copper core clad in a nickel alloy. These exact recipes dictate precisely how the coins sound when they hit a counter, and exactly how they feel in your hand.
After these blanks are punched out, they get baked in 1500-degree oxygen-free furnaces to soften them up, and then washed in chemical baths of citric acid. But before they can be struck, they pass through an upsetting mill. This machine physically squeezes the blanks to raise a thin protective rim around the edge, officially turning them into what the mint calls planchettes. Without this rim, the coins would literally just flatten out and expand wildly under the immense pressure of the presses.
And let me tell you, that pressure is no joke. In what might be the most intense step of the entire minting process, hardened steel dies, carrying the front and back designs, slam into the planchettes with tens of tons of force. A steel collar surrounds the coin to form the edge. I was absolutely shocked to learn that modern presses operate at these mind-blowing speeds, striking an incredible 750 coins per minute. At full capacity, the Philadelphia Mint alone can stamp out over 47,000 coins every single minute.
But just like with paper money, perfection is mandatory. Automated inspections instantly check the weight, diameter, and visual quality of every single struck coin. And the failures? They don't just get tossed in a bin. They are fed into a highly effective and honestly somewhat hilarious machine literally called the waffler. It violently bends and deforms the rejected coins with this waffle-like pattern, ensuring they are completely impossible to pass off as real currency before the scrap is sent back to be recycled.
Section 5. The true cost of cash.
So the really crucial point here is how the economics of this massive, high-security, billion-dollar operation actually play out on the federal balance sheet. Let's look at the actual cost of making money.
Making coins is honestly a mixed bag financially. It turns out pennies cost roughly 3.07 cents to make, and nickels cost a staggering 11.18 cents. Driven by the rising costs of raw metals, they actually cost significantly more to produce than their actual face value. However, the dimes and quarters, those are the absolute moneymakers. A quarter only costs about 9.5 cents to produce, generating over 15 cents in pure profit for the government on every single one struck.
Because of those upside-down economics on the lower denominations, a pretty major shift recently occurred. In late 2025, the mint factory line finally went quiet, ceasing production of the circulating penny. Now, while they definitely remain legal tender, the sheer financial loss of spending over 3 cents just to make 1 cent finally brought an end to new pennies entering circulation.
Contrast that heavy metal money loser with the ultimate asset, the $100 bill. It only costs about 14 cents to produce. Seriously, let that sink in for a second.
For just 14 cents, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing creates a textile canvas embedded with glowing threads, carves high-pressure magnetic ink portraits, and weaves in millions of microlenses to protect a note that holds a $100 face value and lasts for over 2 decades.
It is the most trusted store of value on Earth, with $1.9 trillion in $100 bills circulating globally right now. But of course, that also makes it the absolute biggest target. We're now seeing the rise of superdollars. These incredibly high-quality fakes attributed directly to state-level operations pushing back against these very security measures. Which leaves us with a fascinating, high-stakes question. As technology advances and state-sponsored counterfeiting enters the fray, how long can the physical engineering of our cash truly stay ahead in this extreme counterfeiting